Murphy's Law. This law is not strictly speaking a law. In the United States, it is more like a common saying, which contains a lot of psychologically interesting phenomena. Edward Murphy was a mechanical engineer who participated in the USAF X-981 experiment in 1949. The U.S. Air Force did this experiment in order to determine the limits of human tolerance of acceleration. Volunteers participating in this experiment were strapped to a rocket-driven sled. The staff placed monitoring apparatus on these volunteers for the experiment. One of the experimental items was to suspend 16 rocket acceleration sensors above the subject. At the time, there were two ways to secure the accelerometers to the mounts. It was unbelievable that someone would methodically mount all 16 accelerometers in the wrong place. Could this engineer have just made a random comment at the time? If something is likely to be messed up, let him do it and it will be messed up. This statement was then quoted by the volunteer at a press conference, and since then it has become a famous assertion. It spread rapidly around the world, and as time went on, Murphy's Law was given more meaning and had more variations. If something bad is likely to happen, no matter how unlikely that possibility is, it will always happen and cause the greatest possible damage. Don't try to teach a pig to sing. Not only will it not work, but it will upset the pig. What is likely to go wrong will go wrong. It is the simplest form of expression of Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law, called Murphy's Law, Murphy's Theorem or Murphy's Theorem, is a term often used in the Western world. The main content of Murphy's Law is that if something has the possibility of going bad, it will always happen, no matter how small that possibility is. This has important implications in both psychology and fuzziness and cannot be treated simply as playfulness. Let's say you have two keys in your pocket, one for your room and one for your car. You want to take out your car keys, but what happens? You tend to take out the room key. Murphy's Law is actually the tendency to make mistakes, a hot spot that we humans cannot avoid. No matter how far technology has come, accidents will always happen without notice. So according to this law, we can also get the inspiration that it is the best. Plan ahead. Only in this way, we can deal with all possible troubles comfortably and avoid as much as possible on mistakes. That was in 2003. The U.S. Space Shuttle Columbia was about to return to the ground when there was an accident over the Central Texas area. It resulted in the death of all 6 astronauts on board the shuttle. Among them was Ramon, the first Israeli astronaut to go into space. This accident is a testament to Murphy's Law, which states that accidents in such complex systems are inevitable, either today or tomorrow. It makes sense that accidents would occur. After this major accident, people began to look for the cause of the accident in order to try to prevent a similar situation from happening next time. Most people also understand this and believe that no country would give up on the entire space industry because of a single space accident. The odds of such a disaster happening are actually the same as winning the lottery. Although they are very small, but if you usually do not pay attention to sweep the dead ends, eliminate those unsafe hidden dangers, then the probability of accident outbreak will add up and finally certainly come to a big outbreak, as the saying goes, 1,000 miles of dike destroyed in the anthill. When we think there is no loophole in a thing, we must pay attention to it. Murphy's Law will let us appreciate the inscrutability and variability of things. This also motivates us to pursue more perfection and rigor in the process of doing things so that we can achieve ultimate success. There was once a foreign management scientist who went to give a lecture somewhere in a relatively remote resort. After the management scientist left the airport, the organizer drove to pick him up. On the way, he noticed that there was always a car following them. The management scientist asked what kind of car was behind him. The organizer said that it was their own car. It was in case the car the management scientist was in broke down, and when he was giving a speech at the conference, he noticed that there were 2 microphones. The management scientist then felt curious, and the person who hosted the meeting said that the reason why there were 2 microphones for him was to prevent one of them from failing. When the management scientist finished his speech, he suddenly noticed that there was a different person standing behind him. The management scientist then asked him if he was going to give a speech as well. The gentleman said politely that, if you hadn't come, I would have had to give a speech, but now I don't have to. This made the well-known management scientist feel admired from the bottom of his heart. In our lives, before something goes wrong, it is absolutely necessary for you to assume the possibility that it will go wrong first. Don't take any chances. The advantage of doing so is that you can completely minimize the loss. Everything that can go wrong can go wrong. If you take a chance, then when the mistake occurs, you will be at your wit's end and will not know what to do and that will be very embarrassing. In any case, it is useless to repent once a mistake has been made. We must learn to develop a variety of pre-plans and constantly adjust and improve as events unfold. It is true that in real life there are some people who develop a plan thinking that there is zero chance of an unexpected event. Such a plan should not be said to be practical. We can only say that the probability of an unforeseen situation is small, but it does not mean that it does not exist. This very small probability may appear at some point, so it is better to be prepared than to be prepared.